Everybody, welcome to today's webinar, Unleashing the Power of Endpoint Insights, and also with some customer success stories in a live demo. This is kind of a new format for us at Recast where we're going to talk through some real-life stories and then kind of have some product demos showing how those successes actually happen. So should be a good time. So yeah, thank you again for tuning in. But before we actually start, we're going to do a little housekeeping. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone if you've been on one of our webinars in the past. There's a bunch of downloadable content within the On24 screen. I think there's some product cards, there's some customer story downloads, so feel free to download those at your own time and then, yeah, review them. And then also there's two boxes. You've got a chat box, we've got a Q&A box. Keep everything non-Q&A related in the chat box. You know, say where you're tuning in from, say what the weather's like, say how much you like a product, whatever it may be. And then obviously keep the Q&A section for all of your questions. We've got a small team kind of working behind the scenes to make sure that we can, you know, answer as many questions as we possibly can throughout the webinar. So just makes it a lot easier for us to keep track of everything. And then also we've got a Recast giveaway. So we'll be picking names at the end of the webinar, and then we'll be shooting out emails to those winners once we're finished. So we've got three great presenters today. We've got Bree, Kyle, and Cody. Bree and Kyle are on the customer success team. So if you're a current customer, there's a strong possibility you've had a chance to work with them. And if not, hopefully you do. We've got Kyle, who is on the product marketing team. So Bree and Kyle will be kind of talking through the customer story aspects, and then Cody will be doing the actual Endpoint Insights demo portion. So quick agenda. I'm going to kind of briefly run through some common visibility pain points that we know a lot of IT folks face when they're trying to get, you know, data out of their network or their environment. I'll do a very short intro to Endpoint Insights. But we all know everyone's here to really hear about the customer success stories and kind of see the product in action. So we'll spend, you know, the majority of the presentation kind of on that aspect of it. Then we'll do we'll draw names for the giveaway at the end as well. Let's see. So typical visibility challenges that we know a lot of sysadmins face within their networks. This is not a full list by any standard, kind of just stuff that came off the top of my head, but, you know, accurate hardware data. Do you have a good idea of, you know, what data is, or what hardware is deployed in your network? Do you know what users' docking stations they have? Do you know what monitors they have? We know kind of getting that information is really hard to pull out of whatever management solution you're using. And that same thing goes with, you know, collecting software. Do you know what software is out there? Do you know if end users have installed any software that you may not know about? Security statuses, do you know, are there any OS statuses that need to be deployed still? And then my favorite one is spreadsheets. Who doesn't love a good spreadsheet to track their data? I think the best or worst thing about a spreadsheet is the most up-to-date it is the last time it was saved, and 9 times out of 10, it's 3 to 4 months old, so not as useful as you'd hope it to be. And then these last two kind of go together as well. Like, if you need to check device warranties, you know, are you doing that device by device, very manual, slow process? And that kind of really ties in well with having a good idea of what your device replacement cost looks like or device refreshes. So just some kind of top of thought, top of mind, you know, visibility challenges that I think a lot of people kind of face. So where does Endpoint Insights kind of fit into this whole world of visibility and, you know, additional information? So Endpoint Insights really fills in a lot of those missing environment details, kind of like what I mentioned earlier about, you know, details down to the minute, what types of monitor cables devices need, what type of resolution, docking stations, user installed software, what drives are mapped on end user devices, and then as well as like ODBC connections. So a lot of details and information that isn't really readily available on a lot of system management tools. So that really helps to kind of increase your remote knowledge. Having information is great in your environment, but if it's stale and stagnant, you know, how useful or how great really is it? So within Endpoint Insights, there's a there's hundreds of different reports that really act as a live gateway into your environments. So you can pull information on specific machines or specific user groups or specific groups of machines to really help kind of get that full scope of what's going on in your environment. And obviously, on that trend of better visibility means better budgeting, better planning. The last thing I think anyone wants to do is be side-blinded by finding out that, there's 300 end user devices that are going to be out of service warranty, or their warranty is expiring, or they're just about ready to, they need to be replaced because there's a system update that's no longer to be supported. So having better visibility kind of really helps streamline a lot of processes and answer a lot of questions from other departments as well. But that is enough about Endpoint Insights. I think it's much more powerful if we actually kind of talk through some customer stories and then actually see what the product looks like live. But before we do that, I think it would be fun to kind of start off with a poll question to see some of these pain points, how well they actually are resonating. So the first poll we have is, do you have a good idea of what your device replacement costs are? Do you have an idea of what the average end user's laptop replacement cost or a desktop replacement cost is? So you can select, A, a great idea, or B, no, when a device comes into the help desk, we normally have to kind of quickly go online and see what it costs to replace that, and fingers crossed we have budget for device replacements. So we'll give people a little time here to answer that question. Looks like we've got a pretty good audience here. I see we've got Cape Town tuning in, we've got Seattle, Dallas, Texas, Kansas, Minneapolis, and many more. So thanks for kind of filling in and say where you're tuning in from. All right, let's see what the vibe is with people's opinion. Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. Actually, it's not that interesting because that was a main pain point we talked about. So do you have a good idea of what your replacement costs are? The majority says, I'm not sure. So I think these next customer stories, you should be able to relate pretty well with them because there's a lot of pain points. And I think having said that, Bree, I'm going to pass it off to you and let you kind of talk through our first story.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. Like Jeff mentioned, I'm Bree. I'm a customer success manager here at Recast. And today I'll be sharing with you a success story from one of our customers in the transportation industry and just share how they've been able to overcome some difficulties with their endpoint management system before initially onboarding our tools, specifically Endpoint Insights and right-click tools paired together. As you can see, TruckPro is one of the leading companies, transportation companies here in the US, with about 2,000 endpoints and a team of system engineers, as well as some help desk professionals. I spoke with one of their system engineers, DJ, and he was expressing to me a lot of the different challenges that they were facing before implementing our tools. And some of these were including the biggest one being security vulnerabilities, as well as just overall lack of effective reporting systems for their software updates and deployments, absolutely zero awareness around their warranty information, and just an overall need for more automation of a lot of their routine tasks. After implementing our products and giving some time for the results to take place, TruckPro was able to really just tackle a lot of those challenges and perform a lot of manual tasks, automate a lot of manual tasks to save a ton of time. They were able to deploy the necessary updates for their endpoints that were flagged as security vulnerabilities. They gained just an overall increase of visibility within their environment through our dashboards, specifically regarding security. And this, in essence, made their system more secure and compliant. And again, it saved them a lot of time since the automation was extremely helpful to replace a lot of those manual tasks. Endpoint Insights specifically allowed them to pull a lot of their warranty reports by range, as well as the warranty check date, to make sure that just hardware refreshes were just super easy and streamlined. They were also able to identify the potential security risks and just quickly resolve them with our insights reports that were just showing the outdated hardware and software as well. The reporting tasks really helped them to just make a lot of major updates and refreshes automated and allow them to just efficiently track the software usage and licensing compliance too. Overall, I'd say, Endpoint Insights provided them with the data that they needed to make a lot of these bulk operative decisions to just tailor their management strategies based on a lot of real-time insights that Endpoint Insights was available to provide them. And looking to the future, TruckPro plans to increase their help desk support staff to try to utilize the tools more with the permissions that they're going to allow them in order to try and streamline their technical support. So they gave us great feedback. They love our customer service, and they said that alone is something that makes the tool so much easier to understand and learn. But I am, super grateful to have the privilege of work with customers like DJ and TruckPro to help them succeed with our tools and help them just manage their endpoints seamlessly. So with that, we'll send it over to Cody as he will do a deep dive into the demonstration here.
Awesome. Thanks, Bree. So as Jeff mentioned before, I'm Cody. I'm a product marketing engineer. I actually am Jeff's only employee, so if you do a good job here, let him know in the chat, please. That'd be very helpful. But let's go ahead and take a jump into our demo environment here and take a look at Endpoint Insights itself. I'll give this a second to load here. So when we talk about Endpoint Insights, there's really kind of two big pieces to the Endpoint Insights puzzle. We've talked a lot about the reporting features, and Jeff also hinted early on about the additional data points that we're bringing in. So that's kind of the two pieces of the puzzle here. We've got the additional data points that Config Manager isn't natively pulling in that we're adding for you, as well as the reporting part. So let's go ahead and take a look at the data points first here. I'm going to grab a random machine here and we'll pull up our Resource Explorer. This should look pretty familiar to most of you. When we jump into our hardware section here, you'll see all of our normal stuff here, but there'll also be a section here that starts with EI. So these are all the additional data points that we're pulling into your Config Manager database. And we'll just take a look at a couple of the big useful ones that I've found helpful to myself, I guess. So we'll get a lot of information about monitors here. So we'll get not only the active monitors that are currently connected to a device, but also a history of the non-active devices. So any monitors that have been connected in the past. And we'll get quite a bit of information about the monitors themselves here, as well as like manufacturer date and the manufacturer. But we also get the monitor resolution for these monitors, as well as the connection type. So if we're going to be replacing one of this computer, we can actually see how these monitors are connected. So this one's connected by DisplayPort, and this is the internal, so this is a laptop. And we'll also get some information about map drives with the actual UNC path to those map drives, as well as mapped printers. And anybody that's done a device replacement knows that map drives and map printers are always the bane of your existence if you don't know about them. So knowing about them and being able to get those installed on the first run is huge, so you don't have to schedule a time to come back and rework that computer with that end user. So that's just kind of a couple of quick one-offs for the additional data points that we're pulling in. We'll go ahead and jump into one of the reports that TruckPro mentioned was useful for them. So we'll hop into our Endpoint Insights node here, and we'll jump over to the software tab. So one of the things that they mentioned that they were struggling with was getting a full idea of their software inventory. And we'll go ahead and grab a collection here. So we'll pull up our software dashboard, and you'll notice that we also have a drop-down here that says installed for, and we have computer and user here. So Endpoint Insights is actually pulling in the user installed software as well. So any software that's installed in the user context, such as like Brave browser doesn't require admin privileges to install. Users can install it themselves, and that's not something that you're going to get natively with Config Manager. We're actually able to pull that in here. So we can go ahead and pull that report. And what we're going to get is just a full list of all the software that's installed within the devices in this collection. So if you don't have a really good inventory system currently for your software, Endpoint Insights can provide that for you. And we can actually dig deeper down into these pieces of software as well and see the actual, it's broken down by publisher and then by application as well. So we can go to our version number here and see the devices that this is installed on. So that's the quick look at the software dashboard. Another piece of the puzzle that Truck Pro was really struggling with was the warranty reports. So let's hop into our report portal real quick and take a look at some of the warranty reports that we have. So we're in our Config Manager reports portal. We've got our Endpoint Insights folder here. And from there, it's broken down and categorized, so it's easy to find here. We've got our device warranty section. We'll jump into our device warranties, and then we'll just pull up a computer warranty information report. I'll go ahead and grab one of our endpoints here. And this is just going to give us kind of an all-in-one view of the warranty information for this device. So we'll get information about the device itself with manufacturer, what chassis type it is, the serial number, and then at the bottom we'll get all of the warranty details with the start date and the end date, as well as any deliverables on this warranty. So that's a quick look at the computer warranty report. We'll jump back to our Config Manager console here and take a look at the computer replacement cost dashboard. So what this is basically going to create a computer replacement budget for you. So if you're budgeting for your next device refresh, this dashboard can actually take care of that for you in a matter of a couple of seconds here. So at the top here, you'll notice that we have our lifetime in days for all of our different chassis types. So we could put in, if we're keeping our laptops for 3 years, we could put in however long we're keeping these for. Maybe we're keeping our desktops for 5 years, we can put those dates in here. And then we could also input our average replacement cost for each device type and go ahead and select a collection here. We're just going to do all systems just for fun here. And what we're going to get is a full budget for our next device replacements broken down by device type as well as by year at the bottom here. So we're not only showing you, what needs to be replaced this year with how much it's going to be, we're also giving you a little bit of forecasting as well into the next couple of years as to how much you can expect to spend based on your average costs. So that's just a quick look at a couple of the reports that Truck Pro mentioned were useful for them. I will kick it over to Kyle for our next customer story.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. Awesome demo. As Jeff said before, my name is Kyle Lundgren. I'm on the customer success team here at Recast. I work with Bree and our other customer success managers, kind of in a strategy role, making sure that we help all our customers get the maximum return on their investment and helping to be more proactive in getting you value so that ideally we can reach out to you before you even need to reach out to us. But before we hop into a customer story, I want to take a quick poll. Question for you guys is, how are you currently collecting software data, or are you collecting software data today? What methodologies you're using there? So pause for a bit here to let you guys respond. Starting to see some answers come through.
Yeah, the idea behind this question is just to kind of find out, in terms of software data, do you have a good idea of all the types of different software deployed across your network, even those that are, like Cody mentioned, Brave browser that doesn't necessarily show up in all your other reporting tools? I think it was pretty good, Kyle. Let's see what the results brought in.
All right, vast majority of you only looking at what's in SCCM. Again, a couple blind spots that we mentioned there. 15% have another application that collects this information. Thankfully, none of you are not collecting the information at all, so that's good. And then about 22% using another method. Nice. All right, next customer story might be the greatest name of all time for those of you who are fans of wordplay. Fiscal, being that they deal in financial systems, absolutely love that name. Where my wordplay nerds at. But yeah, they've been a long time community user of right-click tools, kind of their journey, how they made their way to Endpoint Insights. In 2020, they purchased the enterprise version of right-click tools, and then probably saw some of our emails, caught some earlier webinars. We're seeing some of the value with Endpoint Insights and decided to purchase that in November of 2022. Just a few months later, equally as awesome as Fiscal's name, Stephanie, she's one of my favorite people to work with, just an absolute delight, always responsive and happy to collaborate. Stephanie responded to our outreach, looking for some stories to help other organizations find value and find new ways of utilizing Endpoint Insights. And so just within a few months, they were able to get up and running and find value out of the tools. Some of the struggles that they outlined, challenges that they were facing for why they purchased Endpoint Insights. Integrated reports within SCCM weren't digestible or centralized. So getting usable client information was a struggle. Identifying missing updates was a big opportunity for them as well. Failed software updates can be a bit challenging to not only identify which devices are missing them, but then because they have right-click tools, also being able to action on those devices and ensure up those vulnerability gaps was key. And then areas like BitLocker compliance and administrator password policies, again, big blind spot for them, really labor intensive and often unsuccessful when they were going through and trying to remediate those. So now after purchasing Endpoint Insights, what their current status looks like, they're able to get a full picture of end users' devices really easily with just a couple clicks using the all-in-one computer view. That's also drastically reduced their troubleshooting time because all that information is centralized in one place. They can get a full picture. They're now spending much less time running around trying to find the information they need to troubleshoot with users on the fly. Install the missing updates, also just a few clicks away to see a holistic snapshot of their environment, which devices have updates installed, which don't. That's utilizing the overall software update status dashboard. And then finally, devices without BitLocker enabled or TPM issues. They're able to easily identify those using the BitLocker and TPM status report or the BIOS dashboard, again, to identify some issues. I asked Stephanie if she wanted to be on this webinar, and unfortunately she had some conflicts, had a little bit too much going on, but you don't have to take my word for it. Direct quote from Stephanie there from one of her recent satisfaction surveys is on screen. When we reached out about this feedback as well, she also said, "I can't imagine we would be able to work remotely 100% of the time without these tools." So I think pretty powerful testimony, but now bring some of that to life. I'm going to toss it back to Cody quick to run through some of those reports.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. I'll get my screen going here again, and we'll take a look at a couple of the reports that Fiscal identified as being of use for them. Should be coming up quick here. So one of the first reports we're going to take a look at here is the all-in-one computer view report. So we'll grab a device here. If I don't misclick again. Grab one of our devices here. We'll right-click on it, and then we can see our Endpoint Insights node here. And we have our all-in-one computer view here. We can pull that up real quick here. This is going to be a great report for if you're troubleshooting issues or maybe the help desk needs to get some more information on a computer. It's really a self-explanatory report. It really is an all-in-one computer view. So at the top here, we're going to get some information about the device itself, such as like the manufacturer, the operating system, and the model. We'll also get the device boot time, So the next time, that end user is saying, oh, I just restarted it, and it says, 3 weeks ago was restarted, you can use that as some evidence for them. But we'll also get information about the config manager client on this device with, hardware scan times, heartbeat times. We'll get a device warranty information section here, a little bit more of an abridged section, but we're still getting all of that useful information, such as the start date, end date, and the deliverables on this warranty. We'll get all of the monitor information for this device, for the active monitors that are connected here, so we can see our internal monitor. So this is our laptop, as well as we also have another monitor connected here as well. If this had a docking station, we get that information here. So that's great to know if we're going to replace this computer in the future. We know that it's got a docking station. We can show up with the proper cables for that. We'll get information on any of the drives that are connected to this device, as well as the free space on it. So maybe if somebody's computer is acting up a little bit, we notice that there's almost no free space here. You can identify that as possibly an issue and go ahead and clear up some space on this device. We'll get any software updates that are required for this device. And then at the bottom, we're going to get all of the software that is installed on this device, which there is a boatload on this one, it looks like. So that's just a quick look at the all-in-one computer view report. I mean, that's really kind of all the information you're going to want to need for troubleshooting issues on an endpoint. Next up, let's take a look at the overall software update status dashboard here. We'll grab all of our software updates for all of our systems here. This is really going to be your one-stop shop for all of your Windows updates in your environment. And it's going to give us kind of a graphical view of our overall compliance, as well as broken down by classification here. So we can go ahead and actually click into any of these update categories. So if we're worried about our critical updates, we could actually, or our security updates, we can go ahead and click into our security updates here, and we'll get it broken down by article. So from here, we'll get some information about the update with the article ID and the article name, and then a brief description about it. But we'll also get a computer count here. So we could go ahead and click on that, and that's going to bring us to all of the computers that are missing this update. And from here, if we're also using right-click tools, we can actually click on these devices and pull up our right-click tools, and we could pull up something like, maybe we want to start our remote software center and go into our software updates and kick off an update from there. We could actually pull in right-click tools to kind of help alleviate that process there. So that's kind of a quick overview of the overall software update status dashboard. Another dashboard that I identified was the BitLocker and TPM status dashboard, which we also have right here in our security section. So we'll take a look at that quick. We'll grab a collection here. We'll stick with the theme of all systems here. This is going to give us a breakdown of all of our devices. If we have BitLocker and TPM enabled, it's going to be under the protected section, but we can also see any devices that don't have BitLocker on all of the drives that are connected to the device. If BitLocker's turned off, if it's not enabled, if we've got TPM issues. And this TPM part of it's going to be a big thing with Windows 11. TPM 2.0 is a requirement for Windows 11. So it's great to have that kind of visibility into your TPM status. And just with the other reports before, if we click into the section, we'll get the devices that are missing whatever piece of the puzzle this is. This is BitLocker is not enabled. So if we wanted to, we could actually go ahead and click into here. If we had right-click tools, we could kick off maybe our remote Windows security tool to enable BitLocker on the devices that are missing that. And then the final report that we're going to take a look at is the BIOS dashboard. So we'll jump into our report portal again here, and I will jump into the security section and then security again. And we have our BIOS dashboard. We'll grab a collection here. We're just going to stick with all systems again. This is going to give us kind of an overview of the BIOS and UEFI status of our devices across our environment. And UEFI and Secure Boot are going to be another couple of pieces that are going to be really big coming up with Windows 11 moving more towards production. UEFI and Secure Boot are also requirements for Windows 11. So this could help you identify any machines that are not capable of meeting those requirements. So that's just a quick overview of some of the reports that Fiscal identified as being pertinent to them. I will kick it back to Kyle for our next customer story.
Awesome. Great job, Cody. Thanks again for walking us through that. Another poll question for you before we jump in, similar to the last question. How are you currently collecting hardware data? So curious to see what methods you're using here. I know Jeff touched on a little bit of the capabilities for Endpoint Insights to get at some of that data that's not currently reachable.
Yeah, are you going actually desk by desk trying to figure out, who's got what monitor or cables that are used or monitor resolution? You have to go computer lab to find this information out. I know it's a great way to get out of your seat, but if you've got hundreds of devices you need to account for, there's got to be a better way for that. And we've had some customers in the past say that the time they would spend doing kind of hardware inventory went from hundreds of hours down to like literally just minutes by running these Endpoint Insights reports. So pretty curious to see what type of responses we get here.
Yeah, I'm eager to see what the
Sorry, what?
Just eager to see the discrepancy between software and hardware.
Yeah, I think we should have had another one that was desk to desk, foot to foot, but yeah.
All right, got some good answers coming through here. Let's take a look at the results. Again, very in line with what we saw with software. So a lot, vast majority, just using SCCM. Again, similar distribution for another application. Still going desk to desk for some of you. Very sorry. I know that's got to be pretty labor intensive. And then about 13% another. So cool to see. We've got a pretty dramatic example here from you from a bank that I'm not going to kiss and tell. They didn't want to be named, so I'm not going to tell you their name. But they've got a very large environment, 350,000 endpoints. Kind of their shining example of why they purchased Endpoint Insights was a massive amount of cost and labor savings. But their challenge, obviously, with an environment that large, they've got hundreds of physical locations, bank locations, multiple corporate offices, and trying to gather all that data by hand just isn't super feasible. And trying to get at that through SCCM, doesn't exist there today. So really big challenge for them, wasting a lot of workstation trips, primarily with monitors. So going out on site, not having the correct cable on hand that monitor was connected to a device with was really their big pain point with those wasted trips. A lot of unnecessary spend, again, re-rolling people out, technicians to go back out with a cable that they could have brought with them the first time had they had that information on hand. So kind of on the backside of that now, with having Endpoint Insights, they've been able to drastically cut down on their trips. Just on calls to replace monitors alone, they estimated in the first year that they saved $1 million using Endpoint Insights. So by miles and miles has paid for itself, but just again, massive amount of savings. And some of the reports that they utilized for that, list of monitors by connection type, again, to sort by what cable a device is connected with. Again, getting that through the Recast agent that Cody showed earlier into Resource Explorer, pulling that into the config manager database, and then lifting that data up into reports. Also, like count of monitors by connection type. We also have a monitor replacement costs, like Cody showed with the computer replacement cost report. You can kind of forecast out your monitor replacements based on warranty and get an idea for when you're going to have to coordinate those trips. You can see one quote on screen there. Another little quip they had to say was, happy to say Endpoint Insights is going to be very heavily relied upon as we move towards a return to the workplace. So again, trying to recoup those devices, bring them back on site, knowing which monitors are where, was completely unlocked and allowed them to actually activate on that work with Endpoint Insights. So if you could, Cody, do us the honor of walking us through a couple of those reports again.
Absolutely, you bet. Thanks, Kyle. We'll get her going again here, and we'll take a look at some monitor reports. Back in our Config Manager report portal here, I'm already in the Endpoint Insights folder here. We'll jump into our Endpoint folder, and we're going to find a monitor folder here. This is where we're going to find those reports that Kyle was mentioning related to the monitors. We'll kick it off with the monitor replacement cost, just because it's kind of a fun looking report. So we can enter in, it's similar to our computer replacement cost dashboard. It's going to forecast a budget for our monitor replacements. So we can dump in how long we're keeping our monitors for in days here. Our average cost of a monitor, I don't know what kind of monitor we're buying for $500, but that's got to be a pretty nice one. And we'll go ahead and grab a collection here and kick it off. And we're going to get kind of a similar view. It kind of looks the same as the computer replacement cost dashboard. And we're going to be able to, forecast that out within the next couple of years here. Most of our monitors that are in here are expired, it looks like. So we're looking at about $1.5 million in monitor replacements. Hopefully your environment doesn't look like that, but this is a great tool if you need to go through and replace your monitors, because we talk a lot about replacing computers. Monitors probably don't get the same amount of love. So that is the monitor replacement cost dashboard. Let's jump back to our count of monitors by connection type. So this could be a good report to use. Maybe we create a collection of all the devices that we're going to be replacing this year. So we've got all of them in one collection. We could compare this report against that collection. And it's going to kick out all of the connection types that are connected to the devices that are in this collection here. So we'll get it broken down. We've got all of our display ports here, all of our internals. These are our, laptop screens. But maybe we identify we've got a ton of VGA connected monitors, and we want to do those all in one run. We can get kind of an idea of how many we need to kick off those replacements. And then once we've got that kind of figured out there, we also have a list of monitors by connection type. So we'll go ahead and grab our collection again here, and then we'll pick, maybe we'll just identify the VGA ones. We want to replace anything that's got a VGA connection. So that's going to identify all of the devices that have monitors connected by VGA. So if we wanted to do, we just bought 700 VGA cables for some reason. We want to get them all of these computers replaced. We could go ahead and do those all in kind of one go here. So that's kind of the monitor reports. I'm going to tack on a couple of my own little reports that kind of relate to device replacements that I found useful myself. I mentioned before, map drives and map printers are kind of a big pain point when replacing a computer, because it's information that you're probably not going to have prior to going out. So we have a computer map drive details report that's going to give us all of the drives that are mapped to a computer. So if this is a computer that we're replacing for a user, we can identify all of the map drives that they have. It's going to give us the UNC path, so we can easily get those reinstalled for that end user, as well as the mapped printer details as well. We could go ahead and grab that same device here, and we're going to get all of the printers that are installed on this with the port number as well. So that's kind of a big pain point. That's a big reason that I've had to go back to people's computers. I'm missing, the marketing printer for some reason, or missing my Z drive. Being able to identify those prior to a replacement is kind of a huge deal, and it makes it a one-stop process instead of having to go back out there and deal with the end user again. So those are just a couple of the reports that this bank identified as being useful to them. I will kick it back to Jeff to end things off here.
Thanks, Cody. Let's see if we have, we've got one more question, and then we'll send up more time for additional questions. So after seeing the presentation from Kyle and Bree and Cody's fabulous actual product walkthroughs, you know, we want to know if you want to hear more about Endpoint Insights and how it kind of really can help benefit your config man environment. I think based on some of the survey results, there's definitely room for improvement across the board. So we'd love to help you with that. But yeah, no pressure to say yes or not at this time. So we'll give everyone here a second, and I'm just going to kind of quick check the Q&A section to see if we have any other questions coming through. Does Endpoint Insights show additional information like map, network drives, and printers? Yes, it does. I think Cody kind of talked on that as well. And there's been a few use cases out there where, you know, if someone gets a new device, the device works great, but they've realized they don't have half of their map network drives, or their printers aren't there. And yeah, Endpoint Insights really helps streamline that entire process, which not only makes, you know, the IT department or the help desk or admins more efficient, but also improves the end user experience, because now they don't have to, you know, go back and forth, try to get things rescheduled to get their new device totally up and running. Let's see, another question. How many vendors does Endpoint Insights support? That is a large number. I think we're close to over 160 different device vendors. Cody can keep me honest there, but I think it's a pretty substantial number. The odds are that
north of 150 for sure.
North of 150. So odds are if you've got devices or end user devices deployed in your network, we probably can pull the data on them, or at least get you the warranty information on them. So let's see, jump over to this question. If there's any questions we have not answered that have come through, we'll make sure to answer them in a follow-up email. Some questions are a little more convoluted than just a simple yes or no question or yes or no answer. So anyways, if you want more information about Endpoint Insights or any of our products, I know Cody referenced right-click tools a few times as well throughout his demos. Please feel free to jump over to recastsoftware.com, and also, you know, let us know if you like this new format with some customer real-life use cases, and then kind of an actual product demo as well to kind of show, you know, how those use cases became successful. But as always, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found the last 45 minutes useful. Thank you to our customers that allowed us to use their real life customer story. Really great to have that kind of data to work with. Then also, Cody, Kyle, and Bree, thank you for, you know, being able to talk through the customer stories. Thank you, Cody, for the product demo. Then also thank you for our back-end tech support to make sure we can help answer any questions. So follow up from this, we'll do the usual. We'll send an email out post session with recordings, so you can share this with your anyone on your team that didn't get to see it. And also, if there's any real specific questions that have been asked, we'll make sure to follow up on those at the end, because nobody likes asking a question that doesn't get answered. So let's just make sure if there's anything else that's come through. Yeah, this is great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Like I said, hopefully this was you know, a valuable 45 minutes for you. So from there, we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Have a good day.